Good morning, everyone. I'm Cheryl Carr, your work doctor, and this is the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. Welcome to this Monday morning, this marvelous Monday morning. I'm glad you're deciding to join me or watch the rebroadcast. If you're watching on Facebook Live or watching the rebroadcast on Facebook Live, make sure you join or follow me on my Dr. Achieve with Dr. C Facebook page. I think it's just Dr. Cheryl, but I do have an Achieve with Dr. C Facebook group that once you follow me, I can make you a part of, and you can get advanced knowledge of all the exciting things that are coming. And also, if you're watching the rebroadcast on YouTube, make sure you click that subscribe button and like and follow. I'm really trying to build that particular social media format. Just because it helps me get the information out to more people, especially when we're talking about the pandemic and the pandemic recovery. So I want to start out today by making sure I do my disclaimer, makes my attorney happy, makes my insurance happy, is that I am not giving you medical or even psychological advice, even though I can and I'm certified and I can do that. I'm giving you information that you can use to help yourself, help someone else, or to take to your medical or psychology or psychological professional that you see in real life. This is not to replace that. I'm just a guide giving you information that will help you because it is research and data driven. And again, I am qualified to give you advice, but if you're not under my treatment, if you're not under my auspices as a behavioral analyst and a positive applied psychology professional, then this is just advice, okay? It's just information, rather. I have to do those disclaimers now. It's just important. There's so much out there right now. And why am I shiny again? Okay, I like to make sure people know what they're getting from me is quality information. The second thing is I want to tell you guys about my foundation. The Achieve with Dr. C 501(c) Foundation is now standing up. This has been a 10-year dream, but now it's been about a year of work to decide what I wanted to do. Thank you, Kira. I just think it looks greasy on the camera to me. But and since I don't have a makeup artist doing my makeup professionally, this is all Cheryl. I just want to make sure it looks good. I'm not trying to look, anything other than a little bit more than I wear every day. But thank you. Anyway, the foundation. I began this foundation because I'm doing a lot of research in leadership, as well as change management, as well as achievement for, first of all, women, and second of all, women of color. I belong to a cohort in a think group, the think tank, that we are really developing our leadership skills, and I'm learning so much about Black business women and our struggles, and I've had the same struggles. It's really good to be a part of a group that instantly I can identify with and share information and get help from, as well as give help, and it's respected and wanted. So I decided to start my foundation to fund the research that I'm doing, because most leadership books, most leadership guidance, even most psychological coaching, life coaching, everything is done from a white male perspective. And as much as some of the tips and things they give might be helpful, I can't do like they do. The power structure is different. The leadership positions are different. Most people of color have to lead from behind. And then we also fail to recognize most people will help seek and receive better care and receive better results when they help seek from someone who looks like them. And that's just the truth. Statistics bear that out. Research bears that out. I know I've proven it in my own life. I just think it's important to take my stand and contribute to human knowledge and leave a legacy behind. So that's why the foundation exists. There'll be a lot of exciting things that I'll be doing, first for my general public and mostly for my already contracted groups that I help, like education associations, the military, and government. So anyway, I wanted to make sure I shouted out that foundation because that felt so good when I could finally announce that, because I've been working on that for about a year. and now it's happening. So now it's time to get to work. Anyway, today's topic, I think, is really important. Again, I say that every show, and I say this every show, to understand yourself a little bit better in relation to pandemic recovery. And there are a lot of people beating themselves up, woulda, shoulda, coulda, dangerous self-talk, lack of hope, lack of optimism. They won't bend, so they're breaking. And I think sharing some information, mostly centered around personality types. And again, this is generalized information to help you make your own decisions. And one of the first things I want to say before I introduce more in-depth information for us about our behaviors and our natural disposition, I want to tell you nobody is always one way all the time. We move in and out of behaviors, but we all have a natural predisposition to certain types of behaviors when it comes to reacting to people, when it comes to how we deal with circumstances and situations, and how we progress or move through. A lot of what we're doing right now, and most of us won't admit it, is we're grieving. We're grieving the loss of what we think things should be like. We're grieving the loss, very real loss of life, of jobs, of careers, of homes, just our way of life, being able to do what we want the way we want to. We now have restrictions and attempts to control behaviors, and even industries have changed. Whole industries have changed right before our eyes through 2020 and the pandemic. And yes, I call it a pandemic because no one can convince me that this isn't man-made, man-generated, and societal control, government control behaviors. It's just my opinion, and I'm entitled to express that. But research and statistics will bear me out. Anyway, so let's dive into this now that I've given you a little bit of backfill. I'm going to talk to you about certain bents, certain proclivities we have towards certain behaviors. And those behaviors are to be an introvert, which I am, an extrovert, which a lot of my family members are, or what's now been termed an ambivert, which is better description of generalities. But I'm probably more ambivert now, but my predisposition, my natural personality, I'm wired for introversion. And let's talk about those. I want to make sure that I give you really good quality descriptions. And then we're going to talk about how you move through your natural response to people to help you recover in a healthy way from this pandemic, especially now that all the states and places are relaxing their guidelines and businesses are opening up at higher capacity, and we can move around now as we get more vaccinations and people that are able to, be around loved ones. The doors are opening back up. And the sad thing is, some of us don't have enough self-awareness to understand we don't want to go back out there. Some of us, this pandemic didn't really affect us as far as how we move around, how we show up in the world. Most of us would prefer to be home working and not in an office where people are interrupting our work and thoughts and interacting with people at high levels. There are a lot of people that don't want what we had. And I don't think the world's going back to that. I think we're going to remain in a hybrid work environment. Some people will work in offices certain days. Most companies now have had their heads knocked up against the fact that work from home is actually productive. And some people need that in order to work most productively. A lot of businesses are understanding the overhead costs of having a big campus and office to go into. And that's not what they want to do. They're rolling those costs off. Good morning, fam. Thank you, Kevin, my little cousin. Thank you. And yes, family is so important. I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate my family now at this point in my life. It's I don't know what I would do without my family. Anyway, so let's talk about personality types. I introduced introvert, extrovert, and ambivert. Let me give you the psychological definition, because research has shown to us we have a tendency to react to people and circumstances with a certain set of behaviors. And again, remember I said, nobody is all one way all the time. You can move in and out of these behaviors, but these are generalities to kind of help build some self-awareness, which we all need to go from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth, which is all this information is to help you do. So an extrovert is a person who gets their energy being with people. An extrovert enjoys spending time with others. That's when they feel their happiest and their best. They're outgoing, which means that they like putting things out there. They don't hold things close to themselves. They tend to be blurters. They put it out there without thinking. They prefer to work on teams. A lot of them can be a little flighty and a little irresponsible. They like being on the team, but they don't want all that responsibility stuff and task-oriented stuff. They leave that for us introverts. Anyway, they also like to talk things out with other people. That's how they get their energy. That's how they react to people and circumstances, or how they respond to people. An introvert enjoys spending time alone. They get their energy being alone. They need that time to get into their thoughts, think about who they are, think about what they're going through, figure things out, and overanalyze, which, I work on all the time to not overanalyze things. They're reserved. A lot of people think I'm extrovert, but I had to learn to be an extrovert, because being an introvert who preferred books and everything, my mom would make me go outside and play. Put those books down, get out that chemistry set, go outside and play. You're a kid, you need fresh air. And then I would get outside and then my extrovert behaviors would come out. So anyway, they prefer to work independently. There is no greater drama for me than having to work on teams. And I've had to learn, having an assistant, having a team that works for me now, and employing people, which is why I started my company. It's part of my assignment from God is to employ people. But delegating is hard for introverts because we prefer to work independently, and we have this illusion that we can do everything ourselves and that we get it done better if we do it ourselves, which is just silly, because God works through people. And teams have to exist. That's why you're a team member in your family, you're a team member at work. You have to use work through, and use isn't a bad word. I want people to know it's okay to be used as long as you know what you're being used for. And when you're being used at work, you're receiving pay for them using your skills. So defuse that word if it triggers you when you say use. I get so tired of people. You can't use me. Well, yeah, we can with the right amount of money. Anyway, I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but they prefer to work independently and they like to process internally. They can't process if they have to talk to people. And I tend to shut down when I have crisis. I isolate and shut down so that I can figure out what's going on. And then I can come out of my shell. And then we have the third personality type that research has shown us people tend to be like, and that's ambivert. Ambiverts enjoy time with others, but need a lot of time alone. They can be outgoing in the right context. I tend to be outgoing when I'm with people. But if you leave me to my natural habitat and behaviors, I'm cool by myself. And I thank my mother a lot for helping me realize I can't always be by myself. She did a lot of that before her passing. She really pushed me to get close to my family, understand being alone like I am, always off by myself, isn't good. You need your herd. You need your family. So they can be on teams after working independently. That's the way I work when, again, I have to work in an office, or when I'm working with a company or an organization or an association or a government agency. I have to assemble the tasks, take through the workflow independently. Then I can go into the group and work. And that's ambivert behavior. And then finally, they can process out loud or internally, depending on the context. If you put me in the right situation where I feel threatened, or I feel the safety of myself or people I love is threatened, then I can process out loud. I can be not nice. I'm always kind, but I cannot be nice. I can be very direct when it comes to achieving something. And that's ambivert. So I've told you about extrovert behaviors, I've told you about ambivert, and I've told you about introversion. So think about it for a moment for yourself. Like I said, nobody is all one way all the time. And sometimes it depends on the context or the situation or the people we're around, how we respond. But you do have a natural bent. You default to certain behaviors. And in this crisis, in this pandemic, where have you spent the majority of your time internally? Now, let me break that down for you. If you're an extrovert, you're on Zoom, you're always talking to somebody by video because you need that people context. You need people. And you're going to get people on social media. You're going to get people through Zoom and video calling. I mean, that's how you're responding to being locked down or isolated. You fight it. That's extroverted behavior in a general idea. Then you've got introverts. We welcomed it. I was like offended when I had to do Zoom calls and set up Zoom and have people in my living room. I actually started out trying to force myself to be social. So I was doing brunches and lots of Zoom stuff, and that got very problematic for me. I did not like it. because I felt like not only was I working with people, but now people are in my house. That was very hard for me. That was my response, was my natural bent to the pandemic. And then I recognized I had to move into ambivert behaviors, which most of us, this is where we have to function to keep our jobs, to get our services, to live life at some sort of normalcy. So where do you see yourself? Where were you the majority of this pandemic? You got a general idea now? So now that you got that information, and you probably heard this or knew this, and let's talk about pandemic recovery and easing yourself back out there. Extroverts, you've thrown open the door and you're running out the door and you just are so happy, happy, happy. And let's talk about the fact that these descriptions, again, don't wear them as a label. When people say, oh, I'm introverted, that's your natural tendency. Doesn't mean you're introverted. You just have introverted behaviors, because nobody's all one way all the time. And as a human being, you have to talk to people, you have to move, you have to go around. Okay? So just think of yourself as whether you're high or low in, or like on a spectrum when it comes to those personality types. Are you high introvert right now? And I can be. Are you high ambivert right now? Which I am right now. This is not even natural doing this broadcast. Are you high introvert? Like I said, you're rolling out the door right now because you're like, whoa, the world's opening back up. And us introverts are going, oh God, the world's opening back up. And when we're in our ambivert, okay, the world's opening back up. I got to get back out there. Got to work on things. Got to improve things. So rank yourself thinking of those general behaviors, but don't label yourself. Don't label yourself. So helping yourself move along to, if you're introverted and now you're being forced to get back out there, the world's opening back up, you can't stay behind your book, computer, or shut people out. But now you gotta get back out there. So, see, so that's a good thing if you see yourself and this is ringing with you. This is good self-awareness for pandemic recovery, which we're all in because we're all collectively traumatized. We have all collectively experienced grief and change of behaviors, loss, redirection of our life, our work, homes, cars, jobs. Everything is shifted. There's nobody unaffected. Even the rich, they got richer. But anyway, here's the things that I believe will be helpful to you. They're things I'm doing in my own life. They're things that I'm doing to help me ease back to a level of societal norms. Because sometimes our behaviors can become dysfunction. And you go into your natural default to excess to where you're only introverted and you're resentful and angry and act out if you have to deal with people. And that's what I want to help you kind of figure out where you are on the spectrum. And remember, you're not wearing a label. You're just identifying behaviors and using this information to self-coach yourself. So if you're high introvert, One of the things that will help you in getting back out there and recovering from this pandemic and moving towards more optimism and hope and less depression, less loneliness and isolation, all the things we introverts tend to experience naturally, is find your nourishing people. Find your tribe. Okay? If you're a type of person that you get your energy being alone, then you need to find people who will not intrude on that can groove with you when you're introverted. They might come tap on you. I have a few friends that they're like, hey, sis, haven't seen you for a while. What you doing? Let's go to brunch. Let's get out the house. So identify those people that nourish you and don't intrude on that behavior. Don't find it weird. Don't think you're quirky or quirkier than normal. I am quirky and I'm okay with that. But find your nourishing people, and get out there. Text, email, call. Bring yourself out of that high level of introversion. You don't have to go all the way to the other extreme of trying to be an extrovert, but just move the dial a little bit and find your tribe. If you're an extrovert, realize you may have people in your life, in your world, in your circle that are not extroverted. Don't overwhelm them. Don't overwhelm them. Bring your nourishing people to you slowly and gently and conscientiously. Understand they may not want to come back out there, but you'll be very helpful in getting them back out there. So do that. And then the second thing I want you to do is start practicing balance. Start paying attention to yourself. Like I said, when you're an introvert, you start feeling offended when people ask you out or to do things. And you walk around with this feeling of being burdened by people. And that's where we have to work on our scale, the spectrum, and move ourselves more towards being in balance, where we're not high introvert. And we allow ourselves to experience people, to experience being out and about, and enjoy it. Find some pleasure in it. And if you're an extrovert, again, don't overwhelm the introverts in your life with your need to be in high contact. And we may not be where you are. So guide yourself. If you live with people and you're all on different spectrums, this is where the leader in the family can be a blessing to that family by doing some of these things, being nourishing in that environment, not being toxic, not forcing people to be the way you want them to be, but meeting them where they are, like God does for us, and then gauging your behaviors based on what's best for the context or the circumstance. If you're doing family things like we did this weekend, I bought myself out of my shell. We went to brunch. I went to brunch with a girlfriend I haven't seen for a long time. We had great conversation and ministry to each other. I enjoyed it. I couldn't wait to get back home. But still, I did what I'm telling you to do. So find that balance on your spectrum and realize that you can amplify being an ambivert if you're on the opposite ends of the scale. This is really good for your behaviors, and it's also good for your interactions with people, keeping a balance to your behaviors and not forcing people to deal with you in an unbalanced state. Like if you're high introvert, you're very hard to work with. You're very hard to talk to. You're very hard to have fun with. It is just the truth. I had a friend once tell me, "Do you even have fun?" And I had to go to work and getting balanced on my spectrum and not being totally introverted. And I'll never be totally extroverted. I will always be in an ambivert state, which is preferred depending on the context where you need to be. Do you need to work in teams? Do you need to plan out loud? Do you need to work, with people that aren't like you? Then balance yourself. And this only you can do. You know, Other people like myself in the profession of psychology and mental health awareness and coaching and counseling, we can't tell you how to be. We can't make you be anything. We can only inform you and help point out when you might be self sabotaging or out of balance or in an emotional and a mental state that requires medication and treatment. And most of us, again, we are collectively traumatized and we need this information. So, what are some other things that you can do? I highly advocate taking a break from whatever you've been doing the most of. Like for extroverts, if you're always on social media, fast it for a while, get off of it, pull back a little bit, and find some balance to your extroversion. And for those of us that are introverted, get out there, take yourself off of independent work. That's one of the reasons why I applied for and was accepted into this cohort because I needed to get out of myself. And absolutely, Charles, you're absolutely right. You can be happy at your own level and not seem happy to others. And that's because people want you to be perfect and treat them perfectly, not understanding we're all imperfect. So that's why I said extroverts realize you don't want to drag people that are introverted towards your end of the spectrum. Be the encourager, be the one that tries to get them to come out, even if they don't. That people get tired of asking me out because I'll say yes and I'll change my mind, or I'll say no all the time, or I have a certain time frame that you don't catch me or you don't tell me what you want within that time frame. I'm not as spontaneous as most extroverts, where I just roll with things. I got a plan. Got to think about it. But you're so right. It's important to be happy with yourself, but it's also important to be a person other people can be around. You have to have balance because we need people. We need people. And to need people, you've got to be a person other people can be with. And that requires checking yourself, knowing your predispositions, knowing your personality type. And one of the biggest things you can do is realize they're not you. You're not them. And that's okay. It's okay. That's a big realization a lot of people need. And then realize your circle of control, there's just you. You can't control other people. You might get certain behaviors out of people through manipulation and attempts to control. But I personally question anything that in anyone that makes me weak willed. So being happy at your own level, it's a great thing to be. But when you have to interact and be in society, you've got to move. You've got to find your balance. Okay? So those are 3 personality types, generalities again. Nobody's all one way all the time. Find out where you are in those three behaviors. Move towards a more ambivert type of behavior because that's more balanced and in context. Realize if you're at high or low level of a certain behavior and find out where you might need to adjust. Do you need to interact with people more? Do you need to get out the house more? And do you need to invite people into your planning and work with people more? Don't think you can do everything yourself. Learn how to delegate, which is a big thing for me as a CEO and a business owner. But I do have a really good assistant that I trust that helps me remember to delegate. And the biggest things are to move yourself towards recovery. Look at finding your tribe, your nourishing people, the people that encourage you to move along that balanced spectrum, the people that will get you out and you can have fun and enjoy people. If you're introverted, extroverted people, the people that can calm you down and realize you don't always have to be out there and on and with other people. That sometimes it's okay to fast from people and to be alone. So that's the information sharing for today. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you will look back at this rebroadcast. I'm going to share some links to the information I've shared. I absolutely encourage you to listen to yourself talk, look at yourself, decide where you are you out of balance? And then find ways to encourage yourself to a more balanced personality type as you recover from this pandemic and as the world opens back up. That's all the broadcast was for today. Thank you, Don. I do my best. That's all for the broadcast today. I hope I said something that will encourage you, that will help you, and is valid information you can use as we all continue to heal from this pandemic. I'm Cheryl Carr, your work doctor. This is the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. Make sure you like, share, and if you're watching the rebroadcast on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, make sure you follow me on my business page. Even if you follow me on my personal page, which are two different things. I'm just Cheryl on that one. On my professional page, I have work groups, and the Achieve with Dr. C Foundation group is on there, and you can join and become a part of exciting things I've got coming with my books, my third ebook, and then my literary agent. As soon as my publisher is secure, you'll be able to access that book. You'll have foreknowledge of everything the foundation is doing, the research projects that I'm beginning that are so important. I think they are because I don't see anything else like it. So I'm trying to trailblaze, mentor. I'm mentored. I have someone that mentors me. I just think it's an exciting time. Very hopeful. So I'll see you next Monday, 10 a.m. I will have a guest. We'll talk about next week's show. We're going to talk more about physicality and spirituality next week with my guest. So I hope to see you 10 a.m. CST. This is Dr. Cheryl Carr, your work doctor. See you later. Bye. Have a great Monday.